Good afternoon. Can you all hear me and see my screen? Well, we're supposed to do January 2014 and June 2014. So let's start with question one. Oh, by the way, next week is the last class, and the additional classes in May. Well, those are optional. However, what I plan to do for that 4 classes in May is basically to continue the same thing, going through as many paper 2s, paper 1s, and revision of topics. Now, I have an overview of all the, let me just show you all something. Right, in my possession, I have the solutions, because I know some of you all purchased the book with all the multiple choice. That was the booklet that you all bought from the school. Right. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Right, so you're all seeing these answers here. These are all the years that you have in your booklet. And it's in the order that the booklet was arranged in. So you will see questions 1 to 60. Now you all have to do your questions on your own and use this to correct it. And use it to study as well. And wherever you see missing questions, obviously that was the questions that was missing in the book. So you just follow this guide when you are doing your revision. So what I want you all to do is basically send me an email. Well, not an email, a WhatsApp with your email address, and I will email this document to you all. That is why I was not correcting these paper ones, because I had these answers. I was just waiting, making sure you all do your own past papers, and then giving you all the solutions after. Any questions so far? How many of you all will be registered for the May classes? Also, please rename your device so we can take the roll. I'm seeing something Galaxy J5 Prime. I think that's Kendall. I'm not sure who's using that device. So this is just for the roll. Make sure you put your name before you join the meeting. Anyways, right. So if you are joining, registering for the extra classes in May, let me know in chat, please, so I'll know who to look out for. And how many of you are keeping up with the studies? Or you all say to yourself, you have time and you just kind of closing the book for the time being and then picking it back up closer? You all can unmute and talk as well, eh? If you all have any comments or suggestions or anything. Okay, well, nobody have anything to say, so I'm just, all right, somebody say they're studying still, very good. Well, so far it's July. It's the exams are set. So we're working with that time frame. Now May, June, May we have the extra classes, and then June, well, you all will be on your own. All right, so glad to hear some of you all keeping it up. Now, that don't mean you don't have to study every single day. However, you don't want to forget things. You don't want time to pass and you're forgetting concepts. So use the time while you have it. Because when it passes, it gone. You can't get it back. All right. Figure 1 is a diagram. Okay, this is, for those who just joined, this is the homework, January 2014. So take out your past paper, let's correct. Name the structures A, B, and C. We actually did this already, but A, you could have larynx, or you could just simply say voice box. B, trachea, or you can even say windpipe. Both are correct. C, that's the bronchiole. All right. So those are the answers here. Correct yourselves. If you have any questions, you could ask. B, asthma is described as a respiratory disease. 2 signs and symptoms: shortness of breath, chest pain, bronchospasms. Anything you all would like to add? Wheezing, yeah, that's correct. Wheezing is spelled with WH, by the way. Next. All right, so anything with bar graphs and stuff will be difficult to draw using the PDF. And I pray to God that you all don't have that anything to draw for the exam, because as you all saw, that side was very hard to maneuver. So basically a bar graph will have, what you would have is the location. The location will be in the horizontal axis, which is the x-axis here, and the number of asthma cases per 1,000 persons will be on the y-axis, which is the vertical line here. And then you just draw your bars according to the data given. Use your knowledge of the triggers of asthma and the data provided to account for the number of asthma cases in different parts of the country. So triggers of asthma is something that is provoke it and cause it. So that is air pollutants. So we're looking at the city and we're looking at the location and the activities. So we could explain what is the pollutant causing or triggering the asthma. So for city, you have businesses and you have about 25 per 1,000 asthma cases. That's a lot. All right, so the air pollutants in the city will be from vehicle emissions, you could say secondhand smoke, and factories. There are a lot of factories as well, or companies. That's for the city. Now the next one, the other one with a lot of asthma would be the countryside B, because of the heavy metal industries. When they're crushing the metal, when they're reacting the metals with other products, other chemicals, it will basically release, it could be solid waste, like metal waste, or it could be in a liquid form or a gas form. So that will also pollute the environment. All right, so the pollutants from the metal industries can be smoke being emitted from the crushing and grinding of metals, as well as metal particulates being released into the air. So that will contribute as well to the number of asthma cases. The last one, now you have to do it for each part of the country. So you talk about the city, you talk about the countryside, and well, I just went with the ones that have the most asthma first, and then I'll do countryside A because it had the least amount of asthma case. Now that's because it have vegetable farming in this area, and when you have a lot of trees, it tends to filter and purify the air. So that would have limited the amount of persons suffering from asthma. And then lastly, the vegetable farm will have many plants and trees which help to filter and purify the air. Now it still will have like a few asthma cases because remember in farms it would have pollen grain being distributed by the wind because pollen grains are being released from plants. So pollen is a trigger of asthma. However, I don't know why it's blank. Let me just add in one more line. However, there may be a few cases due to the release of pollen grain, which triggers asthma. Right. So that answers this question for 4 marks. Next question. Any answers you all want to share before we move on? Okay. Next one. Figure 2 shows the average number of asthma attacks per person during a year-long study and the level of Sahara dust particles in the air. So the dark line is asthma. Right. This is something we did in class 2. Describe the trend shown in figure 2. Alright, so basically you're tying the two together. The number of asthma with the level of the Sahara dust. Now if you were to draw, take a ruler and go straight down from this peak to this peak. That's the highest part of the asthma case. So that is between the months of July to September. So you start off by talking about the months. During July to these kind of questions, you have to put in all the data that they give in the chart or the graph or whatever picture, and you're talking about everything and describing a pattern using the information, every bit of information in the graph. So now the major aspects in the graph, like we had the highest point or the lowest point, depending on the graph or the data. So during July to September, this showed the highest. Let me just look at what it said. average number of asthma attacks, the highest average number of asthma attacks during July to September. They show the highest average number of asthma attacks, which also had the highest level of Sahara dust particles. So I integrated almost the same wording of the data, show the pattern, which is the main part being displayed into a sentence. During July to September, this showed the highest average, so rewriting the same. Somebody's saying something. Okay. Anyways, so we're basically showing the average number of asthma attacks, and we're showing a relationship where this was seen mostly when the level of Sahara dust was also the highest. And that was the same time frame. Number 2, the purpose of the circulatory system is to transport substances from one part of the body to another. So this is a micrograph showing 2 blood cells, A and B. All right, so A. Hi, good afternoon, Colleen. So we are correct in January 2014, paper 2. We now reach question 2. Glad to have you early today. All right, so A here would have been a white blood cell. B would have been a red blood cell. State one function of each of the structures. A, defend the body against pathogens. B now, what does the red blood cell do? Transport oxygen throughout the body. Anybody would like to share their answer as well? Okay, moving on. B. When a blood vessel is cut, a clot soon forms to prevent the entry of bacteria. During the blood clotting process, fibrinogen is converted to fibrin. Don't forget your blood clotting sequence of events. Which of these proteins is soluble and which is insoluble? Yes, Gemini, that is also correct. What you all had for part B now? Fibrinogen is the insoluble one, soluble, fibrinogen, and insoluble is fibrin. That is basically the blood clot. Made up of fibers, old red blood cells, and it forms a meshwork sealing the wound. Okay, so figure 4 shows a transverse section through a normal artery. Always know that artery walls are thick and it has a small lumen and there's no valves. Colleen, like I said, we are looking, I now saw your message again. We are looking at January 2014, paper 2. And we have now reached question 2C now. Okay, complete the drawing of the artery to show the effects of nicotine on the artery. Now, how does nicotine affect the artery? What disease does that cause? Arteriosclerosis, and it's spelled with ART, right? So it's going to harden the walls. So how are you going to draw this? I think I drew it on the board. I explained it already. You're drawing thinner walls and you're labeling it. Now, it's not going to be elastic again. So what you have to draw is thinner walls, and you're going to put walls become hard, fibers become, the fibers itself start to get worn out. So you're basically shrinking the size of the walls and labeling that the effects of nicotine is basically hardening and making the walls less fibrous. So as a result, if these arteries can't stretch when blood is flowing at a high pressure, that could lead to heart attack or stroke. That's called arteriosclerosis. Next one. D. After sitting on a stool in the laboratory for several hours, Robert notices that his lower limbs feel very heavy. After walking around for a while, the heavy feeling goes away. Explain the... All right, so the area, let me go back to the question. We got a question. All right. Where will be thinner? The fibrous layer, as well as the muscle and elastic layer. Lumen remains the same size. Now, what could even happen to, because blood will be flowing at a very high rate, high pressure, it could actually rupture the lumen, the wall of the lumen. And that could lead into a blood clot forming inside of here, which is what you call, that's a thrombosis, which is occurring in the artery, which could also lead into heart attack as well. Now, if it's the coronary artery, in big trouble. That's what you call coronary thrombosis. You all remember the three heart or coronary diseases? Fibrous layer can burst. Yeah, because nicotine is hardening the walls. All right, so back to this one. Explain the association of tissue fluid and lymph with Robert's symptoms. All right, so tissue fluid is the fluid found around your cells. Lymph fluid is the fluid which is distributing throughout the body through the lymphatic vessels. We have a separate tube which carries that fluid. All right, so what you all have for D? So first, let us clarify what is tissue fluid and lymph fluid here. Tissue fluid is plasma that is leaked out of capillaries. So it's basically water. This fluid surrounds body cells, right? Lymph now, lymph fluid is a clear, watery fluid which, oh, by the way, tissue fluid, after it is leaked, it is also returned to your capillaries as well. Lymph fluid is separate. Lymph fluid is also watery, just like tissue fluid, but it contains different things like white blood cells and fats. Tissue fluid don't have that. So this is a watery fluid which flows throughout the body in the lymphatic vessels. I will show you all a video. It is in fact. This was like the last part of circulatory system, that last note. All right, so why it is when Robert sits for several hours, he notices his limbs feel heavy, because the fluid itself gathered at that point in his feet. It was not flowing because at the angle it was in, it just basically it basically was not draining properly. So that is what we have to explain in the second part. Now, when you walk around, your blood, your whole circulation starts to flow evenly because of the movement, the muscles working, it causing, you have more energy. So that will cause your fluids in your body to flow evenly, rather if you're just sitting still at a particular angle or position for several hours. All right, so while Robert was sitting, these fluids were not being distributed around the body properly due to the angle and pressure that was built up for several hours. So if you were to sit for this class right through, you'd actually feel like, certain areas becoming numb. So that's why when you have the little break and stuff, you walk around, you go take a little venture into the kitchen or get a snack. Just move away. Don't just be sitting for hours. All right, next one. How does reach here now? Let me bring this back. Okay then, don't know how that happened. Okay, anyways. When the day class is posted as well, you all could also look at that class. There's no restrictions because I do go through different topics with the day class because I know some of them are weak in certain areas, and then the evening class, I tend to go through topics from term one, seeing that we have a lot of people who join the class in term two. That's the benefit those. But if you have problems with other topics, you could also view the day class. All right, number 3, name the parts label A and B. A is the Bowman's capsule. This is the nephron, by the way. It helps to filter the blood and form urine. Urine is how we get rid of urea, which is a nitrogenous metabolic waste. B is the collecting duct. State one function of each of the parts. Let me take off this. Don't know how this ended up here, no? Right. A, what is Bowman's capsule? What functions or what process occurs there? So it collects the filtrate from pressure filtration, which occurs in the glomerulus. So at this point, blood comes in through the renal artery. This blood contains all the waste. And when it enters this network of capillaries, pressure is going to allow all the waste, all the water, salts, glucose, all these small substances to filter out of there. So A is the Bowman's capsule, which collects it. And then it flows into the proximal convoluted tubule, then the loop of Henle, then the distal, and then the collecting duct. B now. So what does the collecting duct do? collects urine and drains it into the pelvis, and from the pelvis it will go onto the ureter, then the bladder, and then out through the urethra. Any questions with this? Now pressure filtration occurs here. Selective reabsorption occurs at the PCT. Reabsorption of water occurs at the loop of Henle. And reabsorption of water is controlled by the brain. That is, the amount of water in the body is detected by the hypothalamus of the brain. The kidney is an excretory organ. Name one other excretory organ. So the lungs is one, the skin is one. A substance that is excreted out of the lung, carbon dioxide, because it's toxic. You need to get rid of it. All right, this diagram here, you all got a picture of this as well in your notes. This is the dialysis machine. Basically cleanse and eliminate the waste from the blood. First, well, you have two incisions. Your blood will leave slowly, pass through the sieve tube, which is going to filter the blood, and then the clean blood is going to be returned blood to the patient. Dialysis fluid is all the waste collected, and that will be in the machine. That is not returned to the body. Based on the diagram in figure 7, explain why a partially permeable membrane is needed. A partially permeable membrane means it have pores or holes. Partially means some things could pass through, some things cannot pass through. So a partially permeable membrane is needed to allow waste substances to be eliminated by diffusing through the pores of the membrane. Right. So that is why you need that membrane. Also, the pores should not be too large, thus, so the pores itself should not be a size that will get rid of things that you need in your body, like glucose. You don't want to get rid of glucose. You don't want to get rid of, let's say, your red blood cells as well, because your blood is passing through the machine. So you don't want your blood diffusing out of the pores. So the pores should not be too large, which will prevent the loss of blood cells, blood proteins, because you have all of that in your blood, platelets as well, and glucose. So only urea, excess salt, and excess water should pass out of here, not the good things. Why is it necessary for the dialysis fluid to have approximately the same glucose concentration as Tommy's blood? Because if this did not have the same salt and glucose, then Tommy's blood would have lost the glucose and the salt altogether. That would have diffused out of his blood. So you need to maintain a concentration gradient that would prevent the glucose and the because your body needs salt as well, eh? Not just the glucose, you need some salt. So basically, to prevent the loss of glucose and salt by maintaining an osmotic pressure and concentration gradient. Next one. Any questions so far? Or any answers you want to see if you all are correct? Because these are my answers. If Tommy's kidneys were normal, explain how his hypothalamus would control the water content of his blood when blood solute concentration is high. Yeah, you don't want to get rid of glucose because you use it for respiration. Yeah. So I will actually include that as well. Thanks a lot. Glucose is needed by the body for respiration, and salt is needed to maintain concentration gradients. Right. Explain how the hypothalamus will control the water content. So if your blood solute concentration is high, that means you have plenty salt and urea and little water in the body. So hypothalamus will detect that the water content of the body is low. Simple sentences make more sense and allows you time to think about the next point. So your answers will have a lot of detail and it will flow. So first the hypothalamus will detect it. The pituitary gland will release ADH, which will travel to the nephron. Right? Now when the pituitary gland releases that hormone, that is the hormone that is going to reabsorb the water from the loop of Henle. So ADH is responsible for reabsorbing more water at the loop of Henle. All right. And what will happen now as a result? Less water will be lost in the urine. So that will happen. So when they say the blood solute concentration is high, there's a different way of saying that the body has hardly have water. If they say the blood solute concentration is low, that means it has plenty water in the body, and the opposite will happen. No ADH will be secreted. Therefore, less reabsorption of water will occur, and the urine will just have more water being lost. All right, next one. 4. Complete the following sentence, which consists of feces. Think of everything in the toilet, kitchen, bathroom, along with household waste. State two ways that remote communities could reduce the volume of household refuse produced by the community. They could recycle plastic containers, bottles. So if they're recycling, less trash being disposed of. That is one. What else? They could reuse items, which will reduce the amount of products being accumulated. So if you reuse bags, reuse containers, reuse bottles, you won't have the need to be constantly buying. Like for instance, it have people who don't buy coffee bottles all the time. They just buy the small packet and fill it. Same thing with like ketchup and stuff. You buy a big ketchup bottle and you just buy like the pack one, and you just squeeze it out into the bottle and you have less waste because the pack is much more smaller. You can compact that easier. 3. Any questions so far? You could say things, you know. The day class is very, very interactive, which keep the class alive. All right, 3. Your neighbors throw away their household refuse on a vacant piece of land next to the playground. Explain why this improper disposal of household refuse poses a threat to the health of the community. So I'd like someone to give an answer for this one instead of me giving answers for all. So I haven't heard from Felicia yet, neither Chanel, neither Sita. I haven't heard from Sita at all in a very long time. Chanel normally answers. I haven't heard from Dexter neither. Who is someone who answers in class, but not in the virtual classes? I don't know why. Is it the mic not working? I actually was playing, you all know the Jeopardy waiting time music. I was actually playing that for the day class, waiting for somebody to talk. So I don't know if someone would like to share an answer, that would be great. Nothing yet, yes? No answer at all. So I don't know if you all thinking about the questions and using your notes and using your little research. I don't know. Or you all just come in here for answers. All right, so let's see what we got. It accumulates and can cause flies and rodents, which can create pathogens and cause diseases. Yeah, definitely that will happen. So the household refuse will accumulate, which can cause pests and pathogenic organisms to reproduce. It becomes a breeding ground, in other words. for those kinds of animals. So what will happen now as a result? One, it will definitely cause an unpleasant smell, which nobody likes to live around, and it will also cause pathogenic diseases to be spread. Yes, and rodents, rats will cause like gastro. You all right? So you all stand to talk. Okay, next one. Name 2 diseases that may be caused by improper disposal. So now you could talk about like leptospirosis. If it have a lot of flies and stuff, that will cause gastroenteritis. Now, bear in mind, rats and household flies are vectors of the disease. They are not causing it. They are just carrying the disease-causing agent. 2 methods used in large-scale sewage treatment are activated sludge and biological filter. Which component of the treatment plant comes immediately before the activated sludge tank? So that will be screening. You have to screen the waste, make sure it have no large objects. You're basically filtering it. And you could also have grit and stone removal as well. Those were like the first few steps before the actual sludge tank or the clarifier, primary clarifier. That is when it's settled and then you have your sludge material collected below. So I could actually take this from the notes itself. All right, so you're seeing. Okay, hopefully you all can see this table. So any 2 answers here would have fit in good with the similarities. So what you could say, well, for the differences, I should mention is right. So the differences would have been better for this particular part of the question. So what we could say, bacterial growth is fixed. So for the biological filter tanks, comma, bacterial growth is fixed. So it is in one tank. And you could also say that it all solids from the settler are wasted. All right, so also all solids from the settler are wasted, meaning it is disposed of. Whereas for the activated sludge method is the opposite. So for the activated sludge method, bacterial growth is not fixed, and the solids from the settler are utilized. They just actually make sludge from it, which is used in farming, so it's recycled. A similarity now is they both involve the use of bacteria. So both involve the use of bacteria. That's one. Also, both involves a filtering bed of different sand types. Because when you reach the filtering stage in activated sludge, you would realize it have different types of sand, which is allow the water to pass through the spaces and filter out any little debris that may have been in the sewage. So here we have the answers. Question 5. We also did this in class. All right. State the differences between sterilization and disinfection. Okay, so sterilization is the complete removal of microorganisms of all types. So this is remove fungi, bacteria, viruses from growing. And the other one is what? Disinfection. Disinfection. Now they're kind of similar because disinfection is a type of sterilization method. Just disinfection might, how to say, disinfection is a little like you would disinfect certain areas. Sterilize is like the entire house. Disinfect would be like areas that is contaminated. So this is the partial removal of microorganisms in a particular or contaminated area. All right, so sterilize again. Now both of them will remove all microorganisms. It's just disinfection is when you're disinfecting like maybe your clothes, where sterilization might be disinfecting the entire house from top to bottom. So just how sterilization and disinfection could be used when caring for a baby. Provide two situations. All right. So sterilization will, for a baby, will include using alcohol wipes to clean their toys, their equipment, whatever they use, you know, their bottles. So let me say their feeding bottle and clothes and play area as well, their sleeping area, their playroom and sleeping area. So it's a complete removal of microorganisms wherever the baby is located. Whereas disinfection now, so disinfection is cleaning a particular area which the baby may be exposed to. So if you decide to put the baby in like the crib, you will clean out that area alone. Whereas sterilization, you clean out everywhere the baby will be. And everything they touch and hold and wear. Any answers you would like to share? Because you could talk about a lot of things here. Well, hopefully you all type in something. Some of you may be typing slow, I don't know. Let me take the roll in the meantime. Till someone gives me one of their answers. Sterilization, boiling baby bottles, etc. Disinfection, wiping down baby furniture, crib, seats. Yeah, that's also correct. All right. B. Each time Shobha goes to the beach, she gets an ear infection. The doctor prescribes antibiotics for 5 days. But each time she stops taking the medication after 3 days, when she is no longer in pain. Now, Shobha finds that the antibiotics are not effective anymore. What is meant by the term antibiotic? Alright, so let me skip a line. Antibiotic is a medication used to kill bacteria. Next one. Explain why the antibiotics are not effective anymore and suggest the measures that Shobha should take in the future so that the antibiotics will be effective. So it can't be taken, if your prescription is for 2 weeks, you gotta take a full course. You can't take it and as soon as you recover, stop. Because the bacteria will continue growing. It will always have a strong strain in the body, and that one strain can reproduce and make many copies of itself. And therefore the person will have what you call bacterial resistance to the drug, and it will not work. So antibiotics is medication that destroys. You can't say microorganisms because microorganisms mean fungus, virus, protozoa. So no, that cannot be the answer. Okay, glad I cleared that up, because whoever make that error. All right. The antibiotics will not be effective due to a stronger strain of the bacteria that will remain in the body. This strain will make copies of itself and thereby become resistant to the effects of the antibiotics. This causes the drug to not have an effect on the bacteria. Antibiotics is a medication substance that helps to prevent the spread of bacteria. Yeah, that's correct. Chanel. So this is one part of the question, and then they say suggest the measures that Shoba should take in the future so the antibiotics will be effective. So to answer that part, all you have to say right, so all you have to say is Shoba should take the antibiotics as prescribed, which is for the how much days? 5 days. Right. I think we have one more in this one here. All right, so I have to shrink this. The difference among individuals are due to variation. Distinguish between continuous and discontinuous variation. Give one example of each type of variation. All right, so continuous variation is when there is a range of alleles. Therefore, the characteristic is not clear-cut. For example, height, size, weight, nose shape. I don't have no defined characteristic for those. I have many. Discontinuous is when there is few alleles thus the characteristic is clear-cut. So it's either you have the allele for tongue rolling or you don't have it. It's either two options you have, not many. For example, tongue rolling and blood groups. There are 4 types of blood groups, whereas for height, there are such variety for height. All right. Down syndrome arises from a chromosomal mutation. How does the chromosome number of a person with Down syndrome differ from that of a normal person? Well, the person have an extra pair. So instead of 23, Down syndrome is when there is an additional pair of chromosome. Instead, the person contains 24 chromosomes instead of 23, which is normal. And that little lecture is caused so much defects in the person, stunted growth, flat nose, wide forehead, short arms, short legs, smaller brain, all kind of problems. C. Sex-linked inheritance occurs when the genes are on the sex chromosomes. In most cases, the genes are on the X chromosome and not on the Y. Use a Punnett square to determine the genotype of the offspring of a cross between a female We did this already when we did the whole genetics worksheet. It would have been with that, because it'll be hard for me to show these symbols on the PDF file. So I'll skip that one. D, cell phone towers have caused some concern because of their close proximity to homes. Suggest the possible types of pollution that could result from these towers. So there's always say it's not good to live close to like them TSCT tower and digital towers because it's give off radiation. What topic is that you want me to go through? Genetics? Genetics or the pollution one? Right, so anyways, so cell phone towers have caused some concern. What is the type of pollution? Genotype, well, genotype. All right, so I got a request. You all want me, well, one student want me to go through back genetics. So after this paper, when we go for a break, we could definitely do that. So type of pollution that could result from the tower. Let me just put type of pollution. It could be air. Let me see, cell phone tower. Like we smoke. So yeah, air pollution. I don't think that does have any noise. Effect of the pollution on humans. Effect of pollution on humans. So what effects will air pollution cause? Respiratory, respiratory ailments, such as asthma, bronchitis, emphysema. What's the next part? Action that humans could take to reduce the effect of the pollution. I guess install an air purifier, plant trees, right? So reforestation and so humans so actions to prevent pollution, especially when it comes to air pollution, is plant trees. So plant trees, install air purifiers. You all know certain plants just purify the air like aloe vera. All right, so that's it for this paper. We could take a break now before we move on to the next one, which is June. Right, so we finish with this. June 2014. But what I will do, I want to show you all a video with the tissue fluid and the lymph fluid. And I will teach genetics, and then I'm going to do this paper. So it's not too boring and just me talking. So at least you all could get some revision of our topic as well. All right, so let's go on a break. Now is what time? 6:11. Let's take 15 minutes break.
paternal genotype and little g for the maternal. So this is our cross. The mother has green eyes and the father has blue eyes. We want to see the probability that their offspring will have either green or blue eyes. For this cross, we'll draw a square split into 4 quarters, like a simple 4-panel window. This is the Punnett square. One of the parental genotypes will go on top and the other will go on the side. It doesn't matter which genotype goes where, and the order of the letters really doesn't matter, but we conventionally write the dominant allele first, if there is a dominant allele. So your setup should look like this. Then you simply carry the letters through to their respective quadrants and match them up, like so. Right? Each quadrant will represent a 25% chance that that genotype will result in the offspring. So in this case, we have only 2 possible genotypes, big G, and little g, and each genotype has a 50% chance of showing up in the offspring. Similarly, you have 2 possible phenotypes, green eyes and blue eyes, with a 50% chance of each. Let's look at another example. We'll cross 2 genes that are heterozygous for eye color in this example. So big G, little g crossed with big G, little g. These colors are just for illustration purposes. So we again will draw our Punnett square and put 1 gene on top and the other down the side, and then carry the letters through to their respective quadrants and analyze the results. So this cross results in a 1:2:1 genotype ratio.
Okay, so one being homozygous dominant. Homo means same, 2 capital letters. 2 being heterozygous dominant. Heterozygous mean different, so you have 1 capital, 1 common, and 1 being homozygous recessive. Homo means same, recessive means common letter.
5% homozygous dominant, or big G, 50% heterozygous, or big G, and 25% homozygous recessive, or little g. The phenotypic ratio would be a 3:1 ratio with 75% green eyes and 25% blue eyes. Okay, hopefully that helps you understand simple Punnett squares a little better. Genetic crosses can be much more complicated, and I'll make a video sometime in the future explaining how to tackle those more complicated.
All right, so apart from these kind of crosses, they could ask to work out the probability of our offspring getting a genetic disease. With the genetic diseases, the sex-linked diseases in particular, you will have to use the XY multiplied by XX and insert the alleles as a subscript. Now, the only genetic diseases that you will have to do that for would be for color blindness, hemophilia, and the other genetic diseases, which are sickle cell anemia, as well as albinism. You use the letters as normal. You don't use the sex chromosomes. That was a rule that I said in class. All right, so I'll send that video in case if you want to look at it again. Back to past papers now. Any questions so far with those 2 topics, those 2 videos? So we're moving on to June 2014, paper 2. Okay, so just 2 ways by which HIV is transmitted. So through infected needles, also through blood transfusions. All right, so HIV can be spread by infected blood. So through sexual intercourse, through infected needles, through blood transfusions, or from mother to child during pregnancy. AIDS is caused by HIV. The virus affects some cells of the circulatory system. Name the cell that is specifically targeted and destroyed. Well, it's your white blood cells, but since they say specifically, you have to say the T cells. That's a type of white blood cell. 2 signs of symptoms of AIDS. weight loss, and you could also have skin rashes. Any answers you all want me to check? You could use the chat. Sinus infection, so any kind of infection, yeah, because your immune system is destroyed. Feeling weak, yeah. I wouldn't say headaches. Both gonorrhea and syphilis are transmitted. Hold on. Prolonged swelling of the lymph glands in the arm. Yeah, that's also one. Both gonorrhea and syphilis are transmitted via unprotected sex with an infected person. Why these diseases referred to as venereal and AIDS is not, I think I did this already. But the term venereal means it's transmitted through sexual intercourse, but AIDS is not. So why? All right, so HIV is transmitted via unprotected sex, whereas AIDS is acquired from HIV. You can't transmit AIDS. An AIDS person can't give another person, cannot give somebody else AIDS. AIDS is something that is acquired from HIV virus. So if you give them HIV, then in some years, it will then turn into AIDS. AIDS is not because it develops from HIV, yeah. AIDS cannot be spread, but once infected with HIV, after a number of years, due to the breakdown of the T. So if your T cells are being destroyed, then your immune system will be compromised or weakened. That's hence the reason why they get sick from any and anything. So they have to be isolated from almost everything. All right. On the grid provided, construct, so I can do a bar graph. You all have the gist of how a bar graph looks. Which country has the highest number of persons with HIV? Persons with HIV, Haiti. Which country are the lowest? So the lowest number is lowest number of deaths. So I'm looking at this column here. Deaths due to AIDS. That's 12. So Barbados. Right. So just one reason why Cuba has less deaths, better health facility and antiretroviral drugs available. Antiretroviral drugs, once you take those early o'clock, you could actually prevent the HIV virus from spreading rapidly and destroying your T cells, which could stop the process of AIDS, stop you from getting the AIDS syndrome. All right, next one. The economy of some countries depend heavily on tourism. Suggest one effect that a high incidence of AIDS would have on these countries. Well, it would deter people from coming into the country, and that will lead to loss of revenue generated from tourism, and also loss of foreign exchange. Because countries want foreign currencies. Question 2. Name the organelles A and B. We good so far, right? Everyone, I know you're all quiet, but stop me or say something. Nucleus, B, rough, endoplasmic reticulum. We did these already. All right, so we did these questions already. All right, let me scroll down then. Did I send, yeah, it actually looking familiar. Let me scroll through this to make sure. Was it the whole paper? Yeah, this seems so. Or did we do part of the paper? Just verify if we did the whole paper or just some questions from it. We did part. All right, so let me start from the bottom then, right? Maybe we did the first set. Define the term pollution and give one example. We did question 6. Okay, up to 3B, thanks. All right, so let me complete this one then. I will send not from 4. I will send the whole thing though, so that you just have everything in one. Define the term pollution and give one example of water pollution. All right. So A, part 1, pollution is the contamination of a harmful substance in the environment. One type of water pollutant is oil. Right. Part 2. Describe the process of eutrophication. Eutrophication is caused by fertilizers that enter water bodies, which causes an abundance of algae. Algae grows on the surface of the water. Algae uses, now fertilizers is contain nitrate and phosphates, which are minerals used for growth. When farmers apply those fertilizers and rainfall, it is eventually drained into your water system. That is why some waters look green. Okay, B now. All right. Explain why members of a community become ill after eating vegetables from the flooded areas. Give 2 measures they should take to prevent the illness. All right, so the water may have been contaminated by sewage which was mixed with the flood water. Flood water is one of the most filthiest types of water. I don't know how people in Trinidad is bathing in it. All right, two measures that they should take now to prevent the illness. They are to sterilize, definitely. Disinfect and sterilize. So, two measures to prevent illness is sterilize their surroundings. That is when the flood waters go down. And boil water before using it, especially for cooking and cleaning purposes. Your class is required to test the flood water, describe the test for bacteria, suggest two methods that can be used to sterilize the flood water. All right, so the test for bacteria is basically collect sample of water in a glass bottle, then take a dropper and place a drop onto an agar plate. Leave the agar plate in an incubator for 24 hours at, let me say, 37 degrees. After, remove the plate and take a sample to view under a microscope, and then you will see all the bacteria and microorganisms that was in the water. Two methods that can be used to sterilize flood water. All right, so boil and chlorinate the water. Basically those two. All right, so moving on, we're going upwards. Question 5, name the mosquito that causes dengue and two symptoms of dengue. All right, so A, part 1. The mosquito that causes dengue is the Aedes aegypti. Two symptoms, fever and pain, like body pain. Let me put body aches. Explain how a mosquito spreads dengue. Okay, so mosquito is the vector which carries the virus in the mouth part. When the mosquito inserts its needle-like mouth into your skin, the virus is then taken inside the host or body. And when reaching the body now, it multiplies. This allows the virus to reproduce and invade the body's cells. And that is when it's causing fever, because when that virus starts to multiply in the body, then you get the symptoms. So the incubation period is when it multiplying and making copies of itself. And then you start to see the symptoms. You start to feel the symptoms and see the signs of the disease. Next one. B, a garbage collector. The garbage collectors where Devon live have been on strike for 3 weeks and the neighbors are now experiencing vomiting and diarrhea. Explain why these signs of diseases have spread through the neighborhood. All right, so B, feel free to add in, but obviously if a garbage collector not passing through the area, you're going to have a buildup of waste, and this waste is going to attract a lot of pests that carries, and pests which are vectors, pests like rats, flies, mosquito. All right, so the waste which have been accumulated in the neighborhood may have attracted vectors which carry pathogens that causes infectious diseases. So the vomiting and diarrhea is basically, those are signs and symptoms of gastro, and gastro is caused by a virus or bacteria, which is carried by the housefly. 3. Suggest 3 measures that Devon's community could take to prevent the spread of diseases such as gastro and lepto. So definitely discard waste properly. So you cover your bins. Some people don't even use a garbage bag. They just throw the garbage in the road or pile it up in the collector outside. But that is how them cat and dog and everybody feasting during the night. You had to close the bag, double the bag, put it in a high spot where no pests, nothing could reach. So discard the waste properly first and foremost. Try to reduce the amount of waste by recycling plastic, glass, or metal products, or reuse containers at home. So therefore you won't have as much waste. If you have organic waste, instead of throwing it out, you can make a compost heap at home. Keep it at the back of your yard. Make like a kind of a large little box where you can just throw it in and water it. So that is 1, 2, and so that's the third one. Form compost heap from the organic waste such as vegetable peels and what else? Vegetable peels and fruits which are discarded. The remains of fruits. Now you wouldn't want to go and put chicken bone and thing in this, because that would just attract insects and flies. You want to keep it sanitary. Vegetable peels and thing, That is mostly attract like ants. Now, if it's like mangoes and stuff, that could attract flies. So you have to be careful of the kind of organic waste you want to keep. And what you could do is you could cover it too, put a lid over it with tiny holes in it because it will need air to decompose. Going up. Any questions with question 5? We good so far, right? Next thing I'm doing is over too. All right, next one. 4. Meiosis is a type of cell division in which chromosome number is. Now, chromosome number in meiosis is half. Hence, it's haploid. So I could put haploid here instead. Meaning it's one set of chromosome either from the mother or the father, which is 23 chromosomes. At the end of meiosis in humans, each daughter cell contains 23 chromosomes. For mitosis is 46. Both mitosis and meiosis occur in human cells. Meiosis occurs in only one type of cell, while mitosis occurs in all types of cells. Name the type of cell in which meiosis occurs: sex cells, which is the sperm and the egg cell. 2 differences between mitosis and meiosis. All right, so that was a given a table. Mitosis produce identical daughter cells, whereas meiosis produce different or cells with variation. It's not identical. Also, that is 1. 2, mitosis contains 1 division. So it's 1 division occurring at that time. Whereas meiosis contains 2 divisions. That is why there's a prophase 1 and prophase 2. So it's one set of division taking place, you get 2 cells. Then them 2 cells going to divide and you're going to get the next 2 cells, which makes it 4 daughter cells. So you could even say mitosis is 2 daughter cells being produced and meiosis is 4 daughter cells. Right. During meiosis, similar chromosomes pair up and exchange genes. During fertilization, a normal chromosome number is attained. Name a genetic disease that results if the zygote receives an extra chromosome. So when you have an extra one, you have 24 chromosomes, which is Down syndrome. Right. Right, the estrogen cycle now. So this diagram showing hormone level of estrogen and progesterone alone. And showing the lining here, the uterus lining or the endometrium, together with the days, which is 28 days in a cycle. During which period does menstruation occur? So menstruation is the actual breakdown of the lining or menstrual bleeding, which takes place in the first 1 to 5 days. Hence the wall is breaking down here. So day 1 to 5. Next one. What occurs within the ovary as the wall of the uterus starts to thicken, and during which days of the cycle does this occur? So you have to say what causes the wall to build up, what occurs within the ovary itself. Okay, what occurs within the ovary as the wall of the uterus starts to thicken? Okay, so they want to know what's going on in the ovary, not the wall. And during which days of the cycle does this occur? So as you can see, after day 5, from 6 it starts to climb. Right? It started to rebuild itself. But when it started to thicken is actually at this point here. It starts to get even, so it building back, but then it gets thicker here. You all understand? All right, so let's say from this point here, 13. So walls build up as estrogen rise. So let's say from 13, we could say, actually for this kind of question, they could give various answers. Could be from 9. All right, but we want to have an answer that will also answer this part, which is what occurs within the ovary. So while the wall is building and getting thick, in the ovary, a primary follicle begins to develop. Right, because an egg was lost here. So after this now, new wall, new egg. So a primary follicle begins to develop. That is one part of the question answer there. And during which part of the cycle does this occur? So let's say from day 6 to about, the thickest point is, let's say about, it starts to drop after day 26. So let's say day 6 to day 26. However, the primary follicle is released at day 14. So I shouldn't say that. I should say from day 5 to day 13. So the wall starts to thicken during day 6 to 13. Reason why I didn't mention days at the end here is because I have to match the time frame at which the primary follicle begins to develop, which is day 6 to 13. After 14 is the egg is released, it's matured. So I can't say from this point here because nothing really happening in the ovary at this stage in the cycle. So be careful when answering those types of questions. Between day 14 and 28, what is the pattern seen with the ovarian hormonal levels if pregnancy does not occur? So look at the hormone levels. Estrogen is a bit low. However, progesterone is high. So this is day 14 here to day what? 28? Yeah, 28. So estrogen maintaining its levels, but still at a lower than normal. Now progesterone starts to drop after day 26. So if pregnancy do not occur, progesterone level will decrease because you don't need to have a thick wall anymore because you don't have to support any developing fetus or anything like that. All right, so the pattern seen is the hormone level the hormone levels for both remain high during day 14 to 26. After this, the levels drop. If pregnancy does not occur, the thickness of the uterus lining is not needed. So then it breaks down again. Nayana's mother also explained to her that there are hormones produced by her pituitary gland. So which pituitary hormone controls ovulation? Luteinizing hormone, or LH. On which day does ovulation occur? Day 14. Right. Let's move back up. Right, so we reach 3. I think I saw yours we do 3A up to 3B. All right. So let's do 3B. Name one food group whose digestion will be affected if the pancreas become diseased. Now, pancreatic juice contain trypsin, lipase, amylase. So it could be any of the food groups which require those enzymes. So let me put starch. It could be protein, it could be fats. Name one effect that a deficiency of the food group named 1 would have on the human body. Less insulation. Less insulation. Fat is insulate the body. All right, so why did I not put glucose? Is because the pancreas is released pancreatic juice. Pancreatic juices contain pancreatic amylase. And amylase is break down starch, not glucose. Because the food is not completely broken down yet. Remember, pancreatic juice is released where? In the duodenum. So that food still digests in there till it reaches ileum. All right. In which of the 3 test tubes would the starch be digested? So let's look at the setup. Test tube with amylase, starch plus boiled amylase, starch plus water. So starch will be digested in the test tube 1. Why? Simply because if you boil the enzyme, you're destroying it. High heat or high temperatures, there's the nature of the enzyme. So it will not break down the food. All right. Explain starch. All right, so I'll just explain it. So that is for test tube 2, it wouldn't break down the starch. Test tube 3, starch plus water. Well, water because this one have no enzyme, so it's not going to have any digestion with no enzyme. You need enzymes to digest. So no chemical reaction or no chemical digestion will take place. Right, so that's for that one. Vera does not chew her food properly before swallowing it. Explain why Vera's way of briefly chewing her food is bad for the digestion of the food. Well, first you need to mechanically and physically break down the food to increase the surface area for the enzymes to now act upon the food groups. All right, so food need to be crushed and grinded by the teeth into smaller pieces. This helps to increase the surface area for chemical digestion to occur. The enzymes will now be able to further break down the food to get the small diffusible and insoluble food groups, which is the glucose, the amino acids, the fatty acid, and glycerol. Next one. In which region of the digestive system would the final stage of the digestion of starches occur? Starch is lastly broken down. Well, starch is broken down in the mouth, in the duodenum, and the final stage is in the ileum. So you can put ileum or small intestine. That's an I-L, by the way. We finished this one. So right, I think we have this paper completed. All right, we did all those on top already. All right, so let's move on to our topic of choice. Which one you all want me to go through? What is that topic you all would like? Let me bring up the syllabus. The multiple choice solutions, I'm sending it on WhatsApp after this class. That is the GCE paper. You all should do 2006. I'm sending the answers advanced, but do the questions first and then look at the answers. The May classes, I'm not going to do the same past papers that was covered in these classes. I'm going to do ones from the older years, because I know those who have been with me for this term would have already gotten those answers. So it don't make sense to do the questions again. All right, so tell me which topic you all would like me to do in this remaining time. Nutrition is long, so I'm not doing nutrition. We already did respiration. Circulation kind of long too. We did the eye. You all want me to do the endocrine system? All right, so let's do that one. Some of you all said yes. Hold on, eh? Let me just bring up our file. Right. I will send the concise version of the notes too. I'm just going to use this slide to explain. Let's take a little, let's resume at 7:30. So we'll take a little break for now. So let's go through the endocrine system. Again, you don't have to write down this concise note. I will send you all this as well on the chat. If you all wish, when the day class is posted, you all could also look at that class because I did went through the nitrogen. I do go through different topics. So if you want a recap of the nitrogen cycle, that would have been today's class for the day. All right. Nitrogen, I also did the human eye. Okay, so the endocrine system now. They call it the endocrine or hormonal system. So what exactly is a hormone? Is a chemical messenger which is transported by the blood via a duct. Sorry. Now there's two kinds of hormonal systems. You have the exocrine system. Exocrine have a duct, which is a separate tube where the hormone will travel. Endocrine does not have a duct, so it is transported directly into the blood. So without the use of a duct. Now hormones is target organs which give out a response or effect. So what does a hormone do? A hormone targets particular organs to give out a effect. So you have various glands in the body. A gland now, a gland is where a gland is a organ which contains and stores a hormone. All right, so let's look at the various glands in the body. I have this nice diagram here. So this is a layout showing the pituitary gland, thyroid gland, which is by the throat. Pituitary is right beneath the hypothalamus. That's the master gland, by the way. Duodenum is not one, only the ones highlighted in pink. Pancreas is also a gland, adrenal gland on top of the kidney, ovary, lastly we have the testes. All right. Now what these glands contain are these hormones here. Pituitary contain growth hormone as well as ADH, as well as LH, as well as FSH. All right, so let me just put that as a little key to remember. Pituitary gland is the master gland which controls the release of hormones from different glands. So pituitary gland also contains ADH hormone, LH, and FSH. LH just target the ovary as well as FSH. Sorry, LH, yeah, both of them targets the ovary where they give out their effect. ADH does target the kidney. So just know that. So these are the effects. Growth hormone regulates growth and development of baby. Thyroxine, which is the thyroid gland, secreted from the thyroid gland, controls carbohydrate, protein, and fat metabolism. So it helps with growth as well. Adrenaline is prepare the body to deal with emergency situations, fight or flight reactions. Pancreas is secrete insulin as well as glucagon, another type of hormone. So pancreas also release glucagon, which is responsible for converting glycogen into glucose when blood glucose levels are low. Now, when blood glucose levels are high, insulin is released to convert glucose into glycogen. And these two as well, which we already know of. The misoprogesterone. Anyways. Now, apart from this table, you also have to learn what's the difference between the endocrine system and the nervous system. Because both are messenger systems. One is in the form of hormones, delivering messages. One is in the form of electrical impulses or nervous impulses. Hormones are transmitted in the blood. Nervous impulses is transmitted in nerve cells. Endocrine system, the messages tend to travel at a slower pace, whereas the nervous is in a rapid, is in seconds, in fact. So these are the differences in the table, and this topic was actually a very short topic. I hope you all remember it. What you have to remember is the hormone names, the function. So any questions with this topic? An example of now you don't have to learn exocrine gland, but an example of that would be the salivary gland in the mouth, because you have salivary duct. Pancreas, I will also put a little note here too. The pancreas is a special type of gland. Pancreas are considered endocrine and exocrine. Exocrine glands contains a duct. So pancreas also contain pancreatic duct, which releases pancreatic fluid. On the other hand, pancreas also releases two hormones, which is insulin and glucagon, directly in the blood, which also makes it an endocrine gland. So this is an exception here. So I will also send this note to you all. And what I want to do is also show you all a little video with endocrine system as well.
In this video, we're
Alright, so very short video.
going to discuss the endocrine system, which allows different parts of our body to communicate with each other. You might notice this is basically the same job as the nervous system, which it kind of is, but there are lots of differences between the two.
and we'll explore these as we go through the video. The endocrine system consists of a series of glands that are found throughout the body. What they have in common is that they all secrete hormones, which are small chemical molecules that are passed into the blood and then spread throughout the body in the bloodstream. This allows the hormones to come into contact with a wide range of tissues. Some of these tissues, and it's important that it's only some of these tissues, not all of them, will have receptors that are specific to the hormones. And so the hormone molecules can act as signals to trigger certain changes inside the cells. We'll see some of these glands in more detail in other videos, but for now, let's look at the main glands in the system and see briefly what they do. First, we have the pituitary gland, which is sometimes called the master gland. It produces multiple different hormones, some of which directly tell the body what to do, and some which tell other glands to release their own hormones. It's not actually part of the brain, but it's pretty close, and it is attached to the brain. Down in our neck, we have the thyroid gland, which produces the hormone thyroxine. This regulates the rate of our metabolism, and also plays an important role in growth and development. Now, do you remember how earlier we said that the pituitary gland releases hormones that influence other glands? Well, an example of this is thyroid stimulating hormone, or TSH. If the pituitary gland detects low levels of thyroxine, then it will release TSH, which stimulates the thyroid to produce more thyroxine, which will bring the level of thyroxine back up to normal. Remember, we call this process negative feedback, because if thyroxine levels are too low, they're stimulated to rise again, and if they went too high, they'd be brought back down. Sitting just on top of our kidneys, we have our adrenal glands that produce adrenaline. This is normally released during the fight or flight response, when we're startled or scared. It basically gets us ready to fight or run by doing things like increasing our heart rate and generally getting our blood pumping faster. Just in front of the kidneys, we have the pancreas. The pancreas produces the hormone insulin, and as we'll see in the next video, this helps us to regulate our blood glucose concentrations, which just means the amount of sugar in our bloodstream. The last two glands that we need to talk about are the testes and the ovaries. And these are both going to come up again in our video on the menstrual cycle. The testes are only found in males, and they have two main jobs: producing the hormone testosterone, which controls puberty, and producing the male gametes, sperm, for reproduction. The ovaries, meanwhile, are found only in females. Their main role is to produce estrogen, which influences puberty and the menstrual cycle. They also hold the female gametes, egg cells. Now, lastly, we need to know how the endocrine system differs from the nervous system. First, we have the fact that one relies on hormones, which are small molecules secreted by glands and transported in the blood, while the other relies mainly on electrical impulses, which are transferred along nerve cells. This means that hormones spread more slowly and their effects last longer, whereas nerve impulses are sent very fast and the effects don't last very long, often less than a second. The other point is that hormones act more generally. As you said earlier, they spread through the entire body, which means that they interact with loads of different cells. In contrast, nerve impulses are sent to one specific area, such as the particular muscle that we need to move our arm. So we often describe the nervous system as being precise. And that's all we have to say about the endocrine system. So if you enjoyed it, then please do give us a like, and we'll see you next time.
All right, so I hope that helps with that small, short system. Let me tell you all what past paper to do now. Since you all are present, you all could tell me, just in case in case we do a past paper again. All right, so we do 2014. Let's look at 2013. Let's skim through this and make sure you all did. Have you all done this past paper? I know we have done some. I just want to make sure that the booklet is complete. That's the idea. No, we didn't do this. It have the skeletal system in it. Yeah, we do parts of this. This come for tests. Here's what I want you to go through a book and tell me which papers and questions we have to do still. Where's the same question, eh? Even if I gave you it in a handout, it's the same question. All right. Well, we will do the 2013 as well as the. Now, next week is the last class, like I said. So what we will do, just to complete the booklet, we will make sure we do Jan 2012 as well and June 2012. Now, whatever question we have completed already, just to make sure we don't waste time, I will just answer the ones that we have not answered. So in that way, you all will have had a booklet with all answers completed. Paper ones now. What I want you all to do, I think one student on email me. In the chat, use the chat since you're online right now. Leave your email address here. Not on WhatsApp, leave it on the chat here. So as soon as I close off everything, I'm going to email all of you the multiple choice papers and the answers. Now, why I'm not sending this on a group is because this took a lot of time acquiring answers, researching answers, even talking to other teachers and collaborating to get good answers. So it will be very unfair if I just give people wholesale who are not present and just waiting for answers. Because the idea is for these answers to be used as a guide and to correct yourself when you are testing yourself. All right? So send me your email and I'm going to forward that answer sheet to everyone who was present today and for next week's class. I'm not going to put that in Google Drive whatsoever. All right, so I'm getting the email addresses. Thanks a lot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right, so 8 people. Okay, so that's it for tonight. We do in 2012, 2013, both months for homework, and I'm also going to send a GCE paper. The GCE that I gave you all to do for homework, I am going to send the answers after I log off. All right, so look out for those things to be posted. All right, so thanks again. Have a pleasant night and keep safe during this time and keep the studies up. Any questions? All right, so that brings us to the end of it. All right, then, great.